to Take It from the Ironwoman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Ironwoman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Ironwoman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take it from the Ironwoman. We only have special guests. Today we go to Nicole. And Nicole and I, we have something and probably many things in common, but we both speak German. Guten Tag. Who is Nicole who's going to join us? Introduce yourself a little bit.
Well, hello, I am Nicole Warner. I am the Nicole of GermanWithNicole.com, and I have spoken German for approximately 20 years, and I lived in Germany for 5 years from 2003 to 2008. I teach German online at GermanWithNicole.com. I have private clients, and I have the weekly German practice, which inside is called, you'll probably like this, inside it's called Die gute Stube.
Come to my living room.
Come to my nice living room where I have all of my guests and we have a nice, comfortable conversation, and it's very good. I like it a lot.
Cool. And is that in English or in German?
It takes people from English and then more and more into German. So it basically walks people through exercises, how to do listening exercises. I'm starting to build courses too, which is very exciting.
So kind of like conversational German to bring into the living room and things you don't learn in the textbook. Is that how I understand it?
Very similar. What I do with my private clients is we always have some kind of a textbook, and that creates the structure of the lessons. And then I add a lot to it. For example, last week I published a podcast episode. What does Shrek mean? And Shrek is a fantastic word that means askew or off, like something that's just not quite right. It's really interesting because there are lots of clickbait lists about cool German words that can't be translated to English. And everybody first goes for Kindergarten and Schadenfreude or Waldeinsamkeit or something like that.
Zeitgeist.
Oh, yeah, Zeitgeist, of course. But they never hit words that are really typical things that people say today, like Shrek. Like Shrek is one of those words. Or like the Schadenfreude is a great thing to talk about, but you have to understand the experience of Schadenfreude. And also something like mir gefällt das Heft. Like, I really like this notebook, but in German, it goes the other direction. It means that this thing is appealing to me. I like it, comes from me to the thing in that direction, but mir gefällt das Heft, because I'm looking at a rocket book that one of my friends gave me. Mir gefällt das Heft means that this heft is pleasing to me. I see this thing and it gives me something. And the fact that there's this sensorial difference, that there's a directional change between the two languages, that I find it incredibly enriching.
People are using Duolingo. I started in Japanese and Chinese, and I was like, this is too difficult for me. You need to have the discipline and do it every day. But then I read an article and the guy says, yeah, I speak French fluently. And then he said something in French and I was like, this is wrong.
Yes.
And then the article actually went further and he says, Duolingo is very good. And I don't want to say anything against Duolingo. It's very good. It's inspiring. If you want to travel, I think it's very important that you at least know to say thank you, hello.
Yes.
Something like that. I think for that, Duolingo is fantastic. But when it gets a little further, you actually need to have a person because, and you mentioned it, it's the sensory, it's the emotions, because the language is actually very emotional. When you think about French, they say bonjour. So you sing. In Italian,
yes.
They buongiorno. In Spanish,
yes.
¿Cómo estás? It's all those different languages. When I speak French, I have a higher pitch than when I speak English. I think that's what it is. Tell me, you're the expert on that. This is just my personal interpretation. So we want to hear it from the expert.
I also have a healthier voice when I speak German. And especially as a classical singer, it's really nice for me. Like, my voice is tired today and you can hear it, and it's lower than it usually is. So
Yeah.
2, 3 Noten oder so.
Yeah.
So I just said, when I speak German, and you can hear the difference already, my voice is lower now because I'm speaking in North American English. And then when I speak German, my voice is automatically higher because of the placement of where it sits in your mouth and where it needs to sit in your head. I can give you a North American accent in German, but everybody hates it because it's really painful to listen to because they know that the sound, the affect doesn't meet the meaning. And I think that's why that's a clash for us. Also, ich bin einfach eine Amerikanerin, die Deutsch gelernt hat. It's painful to listen to. But I'm totally not.
Wenn ich so sprechen kann, dann denken die Leute, jetzt ist sie genau Amerikanerin.
Yes. And I think what's so important, what people need to understand is that an app is simply another tool that will take you from A to B. But you can't use only one tool to take you from A to B to C to D to E to F to G. If you want to learn to communicate with other people, you have to learn to communicate with other people. You will never get that from an app. I think the fact that people are so crazy for artificial intelligence, like, oh, it's the next greatest thing. It might be, but it will never, ever replace a human being because it is still a computer program.
Somebody, a human, programmed it. And I have an excellent example for so I'm going to Spain to learn Spanish, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm thirsty. These were the days when you didn't bring a water bottle with you. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what is thirsty in Spanish? What is thirsty? I knew I am hungry. I arrive at the family and I'm like, I'm going to die soon because I don't know that word. The lady opens up the door and she says, do you want water? And I'm like,
yes,
hallelujah, this is it. What we have to learn, we have to think much easier.
Yes.
Simpler is the word to use when we learn another language, right?
Right. My clients don't really like that because they say, well, they're all really intelligent people and they don't want to speak in simple sentences. I say, sometimes we say simple sentences, but more frequently I say, you need to learn very straightforward questions from the beginning. I don't drink coffee, or my stomach doesn't like red wine, or something like that. To be able to say, Rotwein ist nicht gut für mich. Red wine is not good for me. Or ich liebe Kaffee. I love coffee. You don't have to explain the whole story. You simply need to get the message across. Then after that, I call this jumping the fence. Because after that, when you begin learning German, you begin with the things that English and German have in common. And then slowly you have to put like one leg over the fence, and then you sit on the fence, and then eventually you just jump over the fence because you have to learn to think in German, to think like a German speaker, so that you get into the German way of thinking, because language is culture and culture is language. Those two, you cannot separate those two. You have to be willing to know that you come from one side of the fence and you're operating in another field on the other side of the fence. And once people can grasp that idea, they become more confident in themselves because they realize, oh, I'm not actually leaving anything behind. I'm simply working over here for a while. It's really cool to see what happens then. It's really cool.
And I'm interested, what kind of clients do you have and at what level of language are they?
I've actually just had a really interesting change. I have a lot of A1, A2, and B1 people. For those people who don't know, there's something from the European Union called the Common European Framework Reference for Languages. It's basically a framework. It's not set in stone, but it is a framework to help people, because learning a foreign language, like learning as much of it as you can, is a huge endeavor. The EU has broken it down into 6 levels. You start at A1, which is where you begin to introduce yourself and say, I went shopping yesterday. I bought apples, bananas, and pears, which for some people, like, it takes them a long time to get into that. It's a 12 to 15 chapter book. That's the A1 level. And then A2 above that. And then you get into the intermediate levels, B1 progressing into B2, and then C1 for advanced, and then into the C2 level. And I've worked with people from lots and lots of beginners. I'm not allowed to tell you how long one of my clients has been with me. She's forbidden me from telling anyone.
Like therapy, 25 years.
Why not? If it makes you a better person, do it. I have a lot of A1 people and A2 and B1 people. And I had a B2 client and a C1 client, and they actually both just left lessons. Now I kind of get to niche in, which is really exciting because I haven't been able to do that before. It's really cool to see the progression and to see how their learning methods and how they do their homework and practice things over time. It changes. And it's fascinating. What kind of people are they? And they're everything from, I have some teenagers now, which is unusual. I have four children in lessons, children/teenagers. And that's very unusual because they're usually so overloaded with activities. They don't have time for anything.
Why do they want to study German?
Interestingly, they have all either been in German because of their families. I have to be really non-specific because they're minors. Yeah. So they've either been in Germany with their families, or they know that if they can learn German really well, they could go to university in Germany.
Okay.
And their parents are big proponents of that because they're also fans of the German culture. They have German heritage.
Oh, okay. Then it makes sense. Yeah.
And who's the other person has already grown up basically bilingual and is now learning a third language to get a leg up in school and also potentially to go to university in Germany.
You can only speak it in Switzerland, Austria, Germany. So it's only 3.
And Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, and I think also Namibia.
Okay, yeah.
But I can't find the article, but if I haven't found it recently, but if I can find it again, I will remember and I will send it to you. There is an article that came out that proved scientifically that anything that connects you to the German economy basically guarantees you higher income, like by $2,000 to $3,000 a year throughout your lifespan.
And the funny thing is, so I am originally from Switzerland, and when I speak with, or when I write, my friend in Hamburg, she says, yeah, we need to change it into more German language. And I also know my sister lives in Hamburg. When she writes more like a German person. So there is like nuances between those two countries, or even Austria. They have different words that they're using. It's really interesting.
I actually have a Swiss-German Swiss-German dictionary.
Really?
Yeah, over yonder. I had to get it because I was working with a Swiss teen and she kept using these words and I said, I don't know what that is. And I couldn't find the words online. And then it's a really small dictionary from Duden, and it's it's basically Schweizerdeutsch, Schweizerdeutsch, Deutsch, Schweizerdeutsch Wörterbuch. And she taught me words like Sviri und Snuni.
Sviri, this is at 4:00. You eat something, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, why not? Yum.
Well, this is the American snack time. Snuni is at 9:00. You have your coffee or your Gipfeli, your croissant. And then at 4:00, you have another snack.
Oh, interesting. I thought Snuni was more like second breakfast, like 10:30 or 11. Or is it different for you because you're from Bern?
No. Snuni, basically the number 9.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Did not know that.
And Sphiri, it has a 4 in it. It comes from the old habit. So you start to work at, 7:30. By 9, you need to drink something. Then you go home at 12:00. At 2:00, you start again. And by 4:00, you need to have a snack. And then by 6:00, you go home.
So in Switzerland, do you usually have that break from 12 to 2?
Well, in the old days. Let's put it this way. Mm-hmm.
Well, when I lived in Germany, still the post would close for 2 hours at midday.
Yeah.
And it's so incredibly inconvenient.
Yeah.
Like, this is the only time I have. And they're like, well, you have to come back. And I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
And the lady said, ich brauche auch meine Mittagspause.
Yeah.
I need my midday break too. And I thought, but it's 2 hours, like in the middle of the business day.
You go home, you cook a meal, you eat that. You don't eat at the desk. That's the thinking, right?
Who wants to eat at their desk anyway? That's a bad habit.
No.
I don't think it's a good habit at all. Like I only rarely work at my kitchen table. And if I don't want to work in my office, I have a little nook in the hallway and I have a folding table that I set up there and I work there. But I try not to work at my kitchen table. It's like, it's the heart of the home in a way.
Nicole, this is so much fun to talk to you. I think we can talk for hours and hours and hours. But tell us again, what is the name of your podcast and where can we find you?
My website is germanwithnicole.com, NICOLE. And the podcast is the same, germanwithnicole.com podcast. And it's germanwithnicole.com, all one word. But if you put in German with Nicole anywhere, you'll find me.
Okay. Auf Wiedersehen. Wir sprechen ein anderes Mal. Tschüss.
Super.
Danke.
Ich freue mich drauf. Tschüss.
Tschüss. So much fun to talk to somebody who understands my language somebody who understands my language. We can switch, we can laugh. It's about the culture. It's about the interaction on a human level. Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday, every Wednesday. Don't miss out. There's something for everybody, as you just heard, in German, in English, in Spanish, and other languages. And it started out as a book. Take it from the Ironwoman. It's global business coaching with sports parallels. Thank you for your support and keep listening.